If you are a woman who already has been doing this spiritual work and you are in somatics, in body work, but you're still feeling really blocked in your relationship, in your intimacy, in your capacity to trust and connect into your masculine partner, I really want to invite you to listen in to this beautiful journey I'm about to walk us through with a beloved sister of mine who's gone through SEM. And this was her. She already does emotional freedom techniques and a lot of somatic work, and she's been in that state. But there was this struggle in her actual relationship and her capacity to really soften and connect to her partner and her capacity to really navigate those waters in herself. And I'm really excited to get her in today to share a little bit of her journey of what shifted for her inside SEM. So, if this resonates at all and you're in a relationship and you're doing the work and you've done the stuff, but you're hitting that block, please listen to this. All right, my love, I'm very excited to have you here. Not only because you're a beloved sister, but also I'm really excited to hear your journey and to just share where you've been. But before I please land us in for girls who are watching. Who are you? Age, location, just a little background of you.
Yeah, so my name is Becky. I'm empowered by Becky on Instagram, and I'm currently located in Scotland, but I'm now going into a very much like a nomadic lifestyle where I'm not going to be situated in one place, maybe due to SEM, which is quite exciting. So yeah, I'm an emotional energy coach, so it's quite interesting that, I'm a space holder, like I hold space for people, but I've realized the importance of needing the space held for myself and how much as women, we're always giving out, but actually there's so much benefit in being held, right? And that's, I don't know, that's, I'm going off piste here, but yeah, having my space held as a space holder is like one of the biggest reasons why I came to this space. So yeah.
But also so beautiful because yeah, like I also share it so often, like women need to be held. And if you are like someone who is already doing the work, which you're insane at what you do, it's so important to also have that place to come back and be like, okay, this
Mm,
is my flow. This is what my soul's going through. This is my current
mm,
iteration and my blockages and my stuff that we can go in.
mm.
So yeah, thank you for sharing. Curious to know if we backtrack to when you first landed in, what was
Mhm.
kind of coming up for you back then? What were you feeling blocked in? What was your sticky point that was like, okay, I'm needing to come in and be held in a space?
Yeah, so for me, I guess on the external, like the thing that flagged up for me was not wanting to have sex. Like that's just on a really basic level. Um, I understand that sensuality is really important, and I know sex and sensuality are different, but then also really tightly interlinked. But for me, I've always been in my past like a sexual person, a sensual person, and it was almost part of my identity until one point I just numbed everything out. And I wanted to work with someone who had been there before, who understood how the journey works. And you are obviously, not obviously, but you are, for anyone watching, like the best coach. You have been there, you have been to the depths, you are incredible at holding people through whatever part of their sensuality journey they're in. But for me, yeah, specifically, my intention when I came in was to orgasm again, to want to have sex again, to want to be naked in front of my partner and not wear my pajamas at nighttime and my granny pajamas and that sort of thing. So for me, that's what I came in, was very much from like a sex angle, but then that's not like how the journey went for me, and I got so many other things out of it which were just like mind-blowing, and I'm happy to talk through those as well. But I think that's where I was, like I was telling myself that I was broken.
Mm.
um my yoni felt numb, and I just, there was a lot of shame around feeling like there was something really fundamentally wrong with me, especially as someone who does this work. Like I work with energy, I follow energy, I release energy, I let go, I do the big breath works, all of those things. But I was like, there's just like this bottom chakra which is blocked, and I don't know how to access her. So I want to be guided by someone on the journey who I know, who I trust, who has been there, um, from a really deep perspective. And you were the person to do that. So and like it was definitely like a heart calling and a heart following. And I actually wanted to be an SEM for like a really, really long time. And every time I saw your stories, I was like, I want to be inside that space. And yeah, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer that this is something that could bring me a lot of my power back. So that's why I joined this space.
But also so beautiful to hear because I feel like that narrative in our mind, like something's wrong with me, I'm broken, like I don't feel my sex energy. It's like it's such a big trigger, and then it reflects in our partnerships. Even if we have a good partnership, it's like it's just closing. And I often find like that is the initiation to go through all of the layers because our natural sexual state comes back when we've actually started to click and sink into the other places that are closing it, and also realizing nothing's wrong with us. Like it just, there's this evolution that wants to take
Mm.
place. My journey too, where I was like, I feel nothing for years, and I was like, what is
Yeah,
wrong? But then
yeah.
it's depth. I
And
know.
it was so oh, sorry, I don't mean to
No, no, no,
interrupt.
that's okay.
It was so interesting as well because I wasn't aware of that programming at the time. I just knew that something was not right or something was wrong, like down there. And it took me connecting to that space to learn that that is how she felt. That is how my yoni felt. And she literally spoke to me in some of the really deep practices that you hold us through and teach us. Like I heard her say, like, I'm broken. And I was like, oh my God, like that's a belief that I'm holding. No wonder she feels numb if she thinks she's broken. So yeah, that was like another super powerful thing that I got from our practices.
Crazy. Also, yeah, I feel like women's work understanding our bodies and our connection is so vital to then just having our human experience unfold. And often those blockages
Mm,
are there for a reason. There's like deeper work, soul movement, life movement, trajectory movement, ancestral movement that we just aren't even clicking. We're just like, oh fuck, I can't orgasm, or I don't want to have sex, or like my portal doesn't want to open. But
mm,
there's layers that she wants us to go to, and she will close it until we've actually started to really move through it. um,
mm.
I know you said earlier that was sort of the original intention, and things shifted and things evolved in different ways. Where do you feel you are now? Like, what are things that have shifted, open, changed? What did the journey kind of take you through?
Mm. I guess you've got like two different lenses. So on like a larger lens, my relationship has hugely improved. I think I learned that before, and just to let you know, like I'm engaged. I've been with my partner for 6 years. Uh, we've had like a lot of trauma together as well, and I think that there was a lot of me that was keeping myself smaller because I was scared, not because he's a scary person, because I had created all of these walls, right? And I think that it really allowed me to come down and be vulnerable and be authentic about my feelings. Like when I feel angry, when I feel like I'm scared to talk about my feelings, or whatever that is. And I think the vulnerability has really allowed us to become a lot closer, and it's allowed us to both really soften. And it's interesting, like we can now do tasks so much quicker together. Like it sounds like such a silly thing, but like life planning, like I do feel like SEM has really helped me because before we have these big visions and these big dreams, and we're always moving house, and like it's always like quite survival in the relationship, not necessarily in myself. I've always been quite, like, I don't know what the word is, good at managing my own energy. But when it's combining the energies, this is where it's really helped get that symbiosis in my relationship, and to feel more whole and more connected and more equipped to move through challenges together instead of as individuals. So I think like on a high level, it's really, really helped my relationship, which you know, I went in from the sex angle, but actually it's through like the vulnerability and the steadiness through life angle, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think that's been like a really huge thing for me. The other thing is like it's like the subtleties, you know, maybe seeing where there's subtle resentment or subtle avoidance. Like this is such a silly, isn't it's not a silly example, it's huge. I avoided my tax for like 2 years. And through the processes that you taught me around allowing my inner man to take charge, and I've had a really bad relationship with my masculine because I've blamed him a lot for things. And when I finally gave him permission to do my tax, like it's like this domino effect, you know, when you do the thing that you've been avoiding, someone can actually reflect you and mirror back to you, hey, you've been avoiding this. It allowed a part of me to step up, which maybe wasn't happening before. So not only my relationship with my partner, but my inner relationship with my own inner man, um, has felt like there's been a lot more of a healthier flow, which has allowed me, like I said at the beginning of the call, to plan my life a bit more. Like I think we were speaking before we started recording around, I was saying that next year just feels concrete now. Like I feel like I'm standing on like this really steady um floor.
Yeah.
The floor feels steady. And it's felt like a bit of a shit show to get through to that. And I always say, like in healing, we have to go backwards before we go forward. But it's so worth it. And those small, subtle things, and maybe it just started with me doing my tax, but the domino effect that that's had to help me plan my whole next year, to help me plan when I want to have a baby and like all of these really big life things, but starting with the small subtle shifts and the baby steps has really allowed me to have a lot more clarity in my life.
Yeah. It's so crazy that you share it, like just even to reflect back to you, because I feel like it's the most poignant thing that so many of us miss, Bex. Like it's wild. My journey too. But when a woman's body stops desiring and feeling pleasure, we immediately go in and we're like, something's wrong with me, I'm broken, and we want to fix
Mm,
it. And it's the body, like I learned it in my journey too. It is the body's natural intelligence, like divine intelligence, that's like this vessel brings life force. And if you're off cue in the momentum of what God or life wants to do through you, it will shut so you can actually start to go to the other areas that otherwise we wouldn't be motivated to go to. But I think for men, the biggest motivator is normally like money and provision. And for women,
mm,
it's our sexiness and our juiciness and our pussy and like being this like and when that closes, it's the body's I always say it's like your portal is like no, because she knows how powerful she is. When we are in our sex energy, we are multiplying, we are magnetizing, we are creating. And if there's aspects of your life, and I know as you went into your journey, there were aspects that were not what you'd probably want to multiply with life force. Life closes it so we can go there to see the domino effect shift. And as it does, we step into a new wavelength, and there is that process. And
mm,
again, I can share it a million times from what I've seen and also what I've gleaned with you is like the orgasmic nature almost as a consequence comes back when the areas of our life that would have been multiplied from it have healed through us seeing where we're blocked by feeling like something's broken here. And when that
mm,
shifts, and I know you're sharing like finances, trusting your partner, cohesiveness, life vision setting, like when those areas are actually set, that shift starts to reland, but the pleasure shows us the bigger multi-dimensional blockages that otherwise we would just expand into consciousness, and we don't
mm.
specifically want to do that, even though we're like, I want to be, yeah, that truth. Anyway, crazy you share it because I'm like, oh, so wild how it like works.
Yeah. And I think you also mentioned something else there, which has just triggered my memory as well, as connection to God. That's something that I wasn't expecting to get from SEM. And, you know, I always felt like there was still probably a bit of judgment around religion and damage that that can do and that sort of thing. And it's really reframed my definition of what God means to me, and has enabled me to connect with that bigger thing. You know, I've always spoken about the universe and being guided, and I do truly believe that, but it feels like I've got more of a direct connection with God now, even just from the simple practices in the morning that you share, right? I'm doing that every single morning. That's probably the one thing that I've done consistently for the last 4 months or however long we've been working together. So yeah, connection with God is a huge one as well.
Also, thank you for sharing it. I get like so excited when like the journey, because again, I always like what we do in SEM is what I call like a boot camp, because it is like in 3 4 months what for me was like a 3 4 year process. And equally I know how that ripple effect starts to happen, right? Like there's just going to be this flow. But when we are in a masculine state and like our pleasure closes because we are like hyper masculine and we're providing and we're handling and we're don't trust our partners, so we're like holding all of the freaking masculine stuff. The first thing that needs to start to heal is the relationship to the masculine, your inner masculine connection, like honoring and loving him, the connection to divinity in the masculine, and then your trust with your man and seeing this like more cohesive flow state coming in, and that being then the ripple effect for building a whole new life based on strength, and truth, which also just so beautiful to hear, because I'm like, man, like talk me through a couple things. I know when we kind of started, you were almost in a more masculine but like chaos state of holding a lot and just feeling like sex is the last thing on the planet, mainly because there's just like so many other freaking things. What do you feel like
Yeah.
some of the practices that have helped you slowly take off the layers and start to allow you to feel more like aligned, attuned, in trust? What has that looked like for you?
Mm. One of the biggest things that shifted a lot of things for me was around learning about my hormones.
Mm.
I don't think I ever really knew I was a woman, and that sounds really weird. I think because I've always been like, I'm not a fan of feminism and I can work just as hard as a man, and like that equal programming around us being equal and us being the same, but actually being okay with us not being equal in all areas and being different and being able to differentiate myself as a woman because I have hormones and I have a 28-day cycle and my partner has a 24-hour cycle, and really learning how to work with myself and work with my hormones just changed everything for me, because we are a different woman every week. Like that's the one thing that you said to me that just really clicked. I'm a different woman this week to who I was last week. So how can I place expectations on myself and then guilt myself for not meeting those expectations when I was a completely different woman? Like that for me was such a huge revelation. I was really learning about my hormones, because we're not taught this shit. Like we are not taught how our bodies work. Like it's fundamental. We should be teaching 11-year-olds this, but we're not, and it really, really would set up everyone's life completely differently if they knew about their hormones. So I think for me, that was a huge one. Another one was my relationship with anger. Um, definitely fell into that box of I don't feel anger. Like that's not me. That's not productive. Anger's ugly. Despite the fact that I teach about emotions and I was happy to help others with it and hold others in their anger, but I just really struggled to feel it myself. And I feel like the more of my anger surfaced, the more that I could feel. And again, it was a challenge. It wasn't easy. But the more that I could do that, I felt like I've got more energy. Like I've got more power. I can stand up for myself, like not from a mm, resentful and angry and judgmental and I hate you perspective, but from a really powerful perspective of, wow, like this is so much energy and I can hold it because I've learned how to teach myself to do that through you. So I think, yeah, hormones, anger, and what else was there? The other thing was personality types as well. I think in the spiritual world that we work in, it's always like energy and, you know, talking about all of these more spiritual topics. But I found personality types was like really grounding and gave me a lot of language to help people who aren't in the space to communicate better with my mum, with my partner, you know, people who aren't interested in self-development. Well, my partner is, but, you know, people who may not be in this space to, yeah, to have a conversation with them, to talk about expectations, to be like, we're different and that's okay. So I think that was another really huge tool which changed the game a lot for me.
Also so beautiful. Like I love it because I think my sense always is like women, when we're feeling just really blocked in one area, we don't realize how many other aspects we need to actually investigate and move through to start to peel back those layers, to start to open ourselves and to start to be like, okay, there is this flow. And I
Mm,
know anger is such a freaking big one. It's just not addressed in women that this is a big fueler for us if we know how to like move it through our bodies, even with
mm,
our partners. Often coldness in pleasure is it just a direct result of not feeling the fire in us that wants to come out, and we need to move through that and accumulate it in our system to really start to open. And equally being just a human being, like having a
yeah.
fucking ego and being different to other people, and it's massive in just reawakening our truth, for ourselves but also for others. So yeah, it's also beautiful hearing the things that help shift, especially as someone who's in the field. I mean, you know, you do the work. You're like, when you first started, I was like, Bex knows a lot. Equally, we often don't have that chance to look into ourselves and then feel what's there and actually attune and shift on that level.
Mm,
So yeah,
yeah, so valuable. Like it doesn't it doesn't matter how much you know, like you can always know something to a deeper level and not even know it, like feel it to a deeper level. And something I've discovered through myself is how much pride there can be as to how much I know or how deep I already am in my healing journey. Or I teach this stuff like I should know it. But when we get comfortable not knowing, but saying I know nothing and being a student to someone who has been there as well, I feel like that just gives the biggest opportunities for growth. Just putting your hands up and just saying, I know nothing. Because there's always something to learn. And like, I wouldn't have gone into this with you and said, I want to learn about my hormones. Like, that would have never been something that would have interested me at all. Like, didn't float my boat, but it was so important. So, yeah, I think it's it's as important for space holders, teachers to be held, which I know we're circling back to the beginning, but yeah, just was a big learning thing for me as well.
it's also such a huge one I learned in my own journey is like, until we glean intelligence on even just how our biological structure works, bodies do just close. I mean, I for years, right, I had PCOS and endo, and like my body literally
Mm,
was like, no, like I was like, what's wrong with me? But it's just intelligence and attunement back to nature, back to flow, back to seasons, back to,
mm,
then lets us come back in, and she just does her movement. It starts to awaken, it starts to shift also timelines. I know I'm so excited for your next year where it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you've normally entered New Year's, but the sense of entering a year that feels concrete and potent and in union with your partner is like so beautiful to hear, because I know it can be
mm.
intense otherwise, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I'm like really excited for next year. So excited.
Couple other things. I know it's been like the journey and all the things, and we could unpack for hours, but before you joined, was there anything that almost kind of prevented you from wanting to sign up in the first place?
finances. So my whole body, like everything was like, I am in, like I was manifesting. I was like, I need to be in that space. I know, I just had no other objections. Like, this is the space to be. It just felt like money was the only hurdle. And it wasn't from a space of, I don't think I'm worth it, because every woman watching this needs to know that they are worth it, because with, like we spoke about earlier, you can think there's one problem, but when you start to shift everything around that, it's like, you know, everything just starts to shift into place. So for me, it was just more about timing when finances were available to then jump in. But outside of that, I had no really hesitations, because I know that I am my greatest investment. And when I work on myself, then it helps everyone else around me, my clients, my partner, my parents, my friends. So yeah.
Also always good to hear because I know it's such a big one for women in general, self included. Like it's just
Mm.
a hurdle. But equally also beautiful to know, like when you know, you know. I often have this talk with other women where I'm like, you can feel it, right? Like your body is just like whatever, and I don't quite know what, but like that is important.
Yes.
Curious to know what made you take the leap. What was the thing that was like, let's go?
Having the money in my bank. That's literally it. It was just a, like you say, it was just a full body yes. And it was just having the money in the bank, like ready to go. Um, yeah.
Yeah, so good. I also love how the universe just like synced it, and I was like, oh, there she goes. Like it's the time.
Yeah. And we were speaking about it for a really, really long time. And like staying checked in with like you and your energy, and feeling okay, like now it's a feeling, like it's a feeling and a practical thing, and just everything just like aligned. So yeah.
I also love it because I always believe like in this work, for me anyways, and I know you attune to it too, so it's so nice having like women who resonate, but it is it's such soul work. Like there's just so many multidimensional layers, and when life then
Mm.
sinks it together, there's just a knowing, and having sisters in the space that's like everything aligned for this moment, for these to just tune in is always my why. And then watching the journey and what unfolds and what uncovers, because it's just always that mystery of the divine
Mm.
starts to ripple through your life.
Yeah, and I think it's saying as well that there can be this temptation to hesitate out of fear of like, oh, do I do it, do I not? And I'm very concrete in the belief that that's such a drain of anyone's energy to be on the fence, to be in that hesitation space. And it's a case of making a decision, and then you'll just feel so much better rather than being on that fence. Yeah.
Before I get to my final question, something that just popped up, and I'm just actually purely curious, to be honest.
Yeah.
What was your favorite aspect of SEM? Like, what was the thing that you just loved about it?
Mm. Trying to like think of a specific thing, but just everything. Like, your downloads, I think, were so valuable. You know, when girls had questions in the chat and being part of the group, I think there's so much value being in a group, being with other women who are on the same path. And when they had a question, and just your downloads that you would have, and just it just felt like a stream of consciousness that would just come into the chat, and we're all going through the journey together. So when a problem comes up for another woman, it's like it supercharges, because it's like, well, we're all in this together, and we all get to experience your answer and your downloads and your wisdom. And I feel like being on that journey with other people was like one of my favorite aspects. But then also being able to go into my own deep journey myself, you know, on the calls, when it was like, right, we're going into that practice now. And there's that moment where you're like, I'm about to experience something exciting and something new, and I'm going to be held in it. And just having that knowing that that space is there is so valuable. You know, you don't need to think, you don't need to do anything, you just need to be led by yourself, and obviously you do all the hard work in the background. So it's such an honor to be part of that, of feeling held and feeling led in that exciting little moment just before a practice.
Also, so cute. I've like never asked that question, but as you were talking, I was like, I wonder what it was because I guess every
Mm,
woman gleans different things out of it, but I can also reflect like there is such magic in having sisters together and then tuning. Like we're all connecting back to our portal, back to our wombs. We're starting to open up for like God to speak through us, for God to move for us, for us to open into receiving and like all the things that block us. And
mm.
I find being in a collective, it is like a supercharge for a space and time where it's like, you're not broken, nothing's wrong with you. Other people are fucking going through their like through their journeys.
Yeah.
And then equally, I guess being space holders, there is this unique experience. And I never ever want to be the person who's like, do this, do that. It's like, I want you to go into your body and have the practices and the capacity to go there, but then see
Mm,
what comes up. Like, this is you are the intelligent one. Like, when that's that, like, you've got to come back in. So it's cool to
yeah.
hear that as a mirror too of like things that just held and supported.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, like that can be such a fear on the group level around, oh, I just want to work one to one and I don't want to be in a group. And that can be like a program that people run sometimes, but that is the magic, like being with other people, not feeling alone in what you're going through. Wow, other people are grieving. Wow, other people are having these fucking mad breakdowns where they feel like the world is crumbling around them. That's normal and that's okay. And to feel like other people are going through it too, it's relief. It just gives the biggest relief. So yeah.
Also beautiful to hear because I know right at the beginning, circling back, and then we come to our final wrapping up, but like circling back to the beginning where you're like, am I broken? Is something wrong with me? Is something, and I think this is one of the biggest blockers for women is we are disconnected from each other. And then we think, I'm wrong because I don't feel and I'm this. But
Mm,
actually, the more I've done this work, and I know from my own journey, the biggest eye opener was like, fuck, like all women are going through this because we have a different pleasure cycle and we have a different this, and we're holding a lot of masculinity in our lives where we don't want to feel just like a juicy freaking Barbie doll. There's a lot that needs to shift, like spiritually, partnership wise, like, and then we start to like unravel to like, okay, and maybe on these days I feel this more, and we get to know ourselves deeper
mm,
and come into
mm.
truth. I think we learn that through seeing other women and feeling safe in our own then experience with pleasure and the evolution of it, of which it does literally evolve. It's not a stagnant thing. It's just like a
Yeah. And you talk a lot about like chapters and I think and eras, and I think this really helped me as well. Something that really stuck in my mind actually that you said, you were like, so just for the context, so I lived in Scotland for the last 2 years. I've traveled quite a lot within that, and I think I was chaining myself to the decision of living here. And you said to me, you were like, you're young, you're hot, you're like, get out in the world. And I was like, I just needed someone to give me permission to like change my mind and to finish this chapter and to move on and to blossom out into the fresh chapter. And that felt like so much possibility and so exciting to have someone like give me that permission slip as well. So thank you for that, because that really woke me up. Yeah.
I'm always like, fuck, if women come in and they're like, I don't feel pleasure, I'm like, maybe the soul's not feeling fully aligned and she's just closing down the body for this time to make you feel pain. So you do quantum shift your life, and the rest kind of becomes like an inevitable flow. And it's been crazy witnessing you like syncing, also understanding yourself, like oblige, like these
Mm,
aspects where it's like we do sometimes need a permission slip, or we do need that like
mm,
mirror to like, oh, okay, now I will. And then we go all in and life starts to evolve. So yeah, it's
mm,
always the biggest privilege. Like fucking love how life works. Okay, so conscious of our viewers in the journey, thank you for being with us this whole time if you're watching. Final question I have, considering that we may well have some fabulous women in our time watching this great recording, if you had one thing you wanted to say to them, if there is a woman who's sitting here watching and she's on the fence and she's in her phone, she's not sure, she's hesitating, what would you honestly want to share direct to her?
mhm. Look after yourself. Like, you probably, if you're watching this, spend all of your time looking after everyone else but yourself. And there is a point in life where you need to make a decision to say, it's my turn now. And when we can really zoom out and be like, I would spend 2 grand on a fence, but but I wouldn't put that into myself. And we need to value ourselves, because when we value ourselves, when we bring our value higher by investing in ourselves, by working on ourselves, by going on our healing journey, by prioritizing ourselves over our fence, for example, this is when everything begins to shift and begins to flourish, because you are the most important thing on this planet. And that can feel really hard to feel and to embody. And it's a journey to really, truly understand that. But it takes just taking the first step, saying that one yes to yourself. Maybe it's a big yes, maybe it's a scary yes, but courage doesn't come without fear. And it's about going all in with both of them, to just let yourself be taken on the journey instead of doing it by yourself. Because when you try and hold it all yourself and just constantly help other people, it's really hard to get to the destination that you want to get to. And you could just have so much more ease, so much more flow in your life by working with someone who's been there before, someone as beautiful as them, who's full of wisdom, and you don't know what you're going to learn. Like, you don't know what's going to come up. I came in with this one intention and I keep doing this, but had so many other different things come up. And yeah, it's definitely shifted my life in really beautiful ways. So do it. Say yes to yourself. That would be my advice.
Oh, baby. I almost felt teary there for a second, like a younger version of me. I was like, I needed to hear that. But it's so true. Yeah, if you are watching this, I understand how much women we do put everything before ourselves. And we are ultimately the portal and the epicenter. And there is that time where it's like, it's a leap and it's a profound one because so many other things start to realign that we didn't even realize. And then it takes us
Mm,
just to a whole new level.
mm.
Yeah, thank you for sharing for us, for the girls.
Thank you.
Before we close, anything you would like to finally share? No pressure, but if there's any other final thoughts before we zip this up, space is yours.
I think that's everything from me. And actually, that's another thing I've got, is that silence is okay. It's okay to say no.
And say no. Pillar two, the power of no. I'm a
Yeah.
woman. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and also sharing with me, with us, everything. It's so valuable. And yeah, for women who are watching this, if any of this is resonating with you and you're feeling like, oh, that impulse, there will always be a link below to book in a call with me just to tune in. Feel free. But from our side, Bex, thank you. I love you. This has been the biggest honor ever.
Thank you for holding me.